Hello, this is like a wizard and welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you my custom Mindstorms rock paper scissors machine. This machine guarantees a win or at least a draw in every rock paper scissors game. So the way it works is, as you can see, the main build of it is a giant hand to play rock paper scissors over there, the main Mindstorms EV3 brick here, and then the place where you play your moves. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of how it works. I'm just going to move it a little bit, and I'll show you if you want to play different moves. So first of all, if you want to play rock, you'd go rock, paper, scissors, and touch the touch sensor. It plays paper, so it wins. And now, if I play scissors, it does scissors, so it's a tie. Now, let's say I play paper. It does scissors again, so it wins. So every single time it'll always rock, so it wins. It'll always win guaranteed every time. But you can try. Now the way it works is using every single sensor in the kit in different ways, so that way they all work to do about the same thing. So the touch sensor is pretty simple. It just works by having the touch sensor with one on the end, and when you do rock, you just hit it down, and it'll play its move. Then the infrared sensor, that just works by proximity in this one. So if you get your hand close enough, it'll see, like, I'm not putting it right in front. So it depends on the distance, and if you want, you can alter it if you try to build this yourself. But when I was building this, I wanted to make sure that I can build a rock paper scissors machine we're using only the parts of the Mindstorms system, because other people have managed to build Mindstorms rock paper scissors, but they haven't been able to only use the parts in the system. And given that it doesn't look great altogether, it still looks relatively good for what it is and what it can do. And below that, below the proximity sensor up here, is a color sensor. The color sensor, as you can see, has this bright light on that's shooting up blue beams. And that sensor reads your hand, the bottom of your hand when you play paper. It just detects when the color black is in front of it. So because this casts a shadow, so sometimes you can see that if I push this down too far, it'll actually think it's casting a shadow, and it'll play scissors because it thinks you're putting your hand there. So it really does depend, and the sensors aren't completely worked out over here, but both sensors work individually, which is great. But a few changes can be made and tweaked over there if you want to try and replicate this yourself. Just taking a closer look on things now, let's just go over to the hand. Alright, so over here I'm just going to bring the hand. This main hand was the first thing I built. So the way the hand works is it uses both the large motors, and this whole system overall uses both every single motor or sensor in the Mindstorms kit. So all three motors are used here. The main two to power the top half when you play different moves, like here. So when you play, so it moves these two according to it, and it's just set to degrees, so that way it doesn't slam too hard here. And it even has a little bit of some parts built up, so that way it doesn't slam into the motor and get jammed. So because it has so much power for the Mindstorms, and the power can be turned up or down if you want to. But one other thing is this medium motor, which only turns as a thumb, which still works great, because that way when you play rock, it looks great altogether when it all comes and breaks apart. The rest of the hand just uses a few panels just to hide a little bit of the interior workings, just to make sure that everything stays together and it's really stable. But if you're still picking it up, I'd recommend picking it up from the brick and the hand, because it tends to want to break apart in this area here. So as we do move to this area, you'll see that the arm is built a second arm to sort of resemble that first one. So it uses the same fingers as the other one, except just a bit closer together, and it still uses a panel on it, and a panel up here at the shoulder. And I try to replicate the red arm on both sides. So it's a little bit of just trying to make it feel more human-like, just for it to all fit in. then the main line, the main beam that goes all the way to the other end, it's quite stable because this is quite light up on the end, and all these beams also hold it in place quite well, the wires. So it works really well overall. And one last thing I want to show you with the visual look of it is that the eyes actually change when you play moves. So if I play rock right now, let me just get the motor. You can see it actually winks to let you know you've won. But because of the proximity sensor problem, that when sometimes you try to play scissors and it'll play scissors too, it'll still think it's won. It's because it's just programmed to do that. But overall, it works relatively well for what it is, and definitely I might make updated videos on it in the future. But for now, this is a pretty good representation of what this can do. The last thing I'm going to show you is how it's programmed, which is quite complex from what I've shown in this channel so far. Alright, so here's all the programming altogether. So as you can see, the programming works in three main components. So each of these boxes is for each of the different moves you can play. This top box is for rock, so when you play rock on the touch sensor, it'll activate this command. This command tells it that it needs to move both of the main motors and the medium motor at a certain degree, and then it does a winking face. It holds that pose for 1.5 seconds, and then it quickly turns back. And it gives it the regular awake faces again, and that just keeps on getting repeated in a loop whenever you play that move. Next is the proximity one. The proximity or infrared sensor does the same thing, except because it's rock, I was initially going to have it that it didn't move any motors, but because some people were getting confused that it wasn't doing anything when they tried to play scissors, I added in so that the thumb does move to let you know that it's just staying as rock. And so it just moves the thumb, winks, and then goes back. And down here you've got the color sensor. Because a color sensor needs you to play paper, that means it needs to move both sensors at the same time. So what it first checks is if you've got your hand on the color sensor. So once it's checked that off, it'll see if you have it on the proximity sensor. And once you've checked off both those things, it'll go on to do the command to do scissors. So that all works together. And then one other thing is, I've got the awake button here. So that button shows that it stays awake whenever it's not doing anything. And that's about how it all connects up all together. And I think that's about everything I have to show. This robot works really well. It does need a little bit of work on the way that the sensors move all together, but it's a great robot to start to practice using the proximity and color sensors. Because right now for robots I've only been using the touch and the main motors for all the different main builds and for the most useless machine ever. So I've got to start making more mocks with this. If you guys have any suggestions, I'm starting a new series where you guys try and send in your own suggestions and I'll try and build it myself. So if you got any suggestions, just leave it in the comments below in this video, and I'll try to respond to as many as I can and do as many as I can. But yeah, this is Like a Wizard, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day.